everybody. Looks like people are here, so we'll get started. Welcome to Demonstrated Success is student page, PerformancePLUS student page webinar today. I'm Ann Mordecai, and that's Heather, who's the other picture. We Demonstrated Success, we are a K through 12 educational consulting company. We are in Portsmouth. We have decades of, hundreds of years of educational experience. Altogether, lots of time. We have ELA specialists, math specialists, curriculum people, instruction people, assessment people, climate and culture. We do a lot of PLC training, and we do a lot of helping people look at data. We've been doing remote support since March, since we went remote, and we've had about 30,000 people or educators look at our webinars or come to our webinars. So that's kind of exciting. This is us, this is Heather, and this is me at the bottom, and those are our little avatars. This PowerPoint will be sent to you, so you'll be able to read about us if you want to have some fascinating reading. So here's some logistics. This is the second webinar of our PerformancePLUS series, and we're very glad that you came. I know that PerformancePLUS can be a little overwhelming at times and frustrating, but once you really use it, you can get into it, and there's so much that you can get out of it. We thank you all for putting all the effort in. What we're doing is nothing compared to what you're doing at schools. I know it's been really, really, really hard. Everybody's going to be muted throughout the webinar just because it's just too much noise otherwise. If you have questions in the control panel, there's a little Q&A section. If you could enter your questions into that control panel or into that section that is for questions, we will see them. I'll see them. I'll be monitoring the questions, and I'll interrupt Heather when we have them. And
all right. So this is my cue, which means I'll be turning off my video so that I can concentrate and not me constantly seeing myself in the corner. This is just our gentle reminder to everybody. Learning never exhausts the mind. We're all exhausted. We're all tired. I can imagine right now what it is to be teachers, administrators, or anybody who is working in a school, but know that the students are still ready to learn, and we just need to figure out how to kind of tap into that. So we're going to be answering the following questions today. Our goals for the webinar are: how do I access the P+ student page? What does the P+ student page look like? And how can I use the P+ student page information? So I just wanted to first go over some of the benefits of the PerformancePLUS student page. So it shows individual student information. So you're looking at one student at a time. It is a snapshot of past performance on student assessments. It is a place to track student interventions. You can view and create individual student learning plans. You can view all school history, and it can be especially beneficial for informing instructional needs, whether it be regular classroom, special ed, Title I, whatever it is. It's a really great snapshot of a student. So logging into P+, depending on how often you do it, it can become a little bit cumbersome or challenging. So just so you know, the state of New Hampshire has a requirement that you log into your single signer use-on for the New Hampshire, the DOE newhampshire.gov. So it's my.doe.newhampshire.gov. As soon as you get onto that page, this might look familiar to you. This is where you sign in for anything that has to do with the DOE, for your credentialing or things like that. You are going to put in your username and password and click login. For a lot of us who aren't going into the system very often, you're going to want to look at this side here. So a lot of times we forget our username and passwords. It does make you change it. So sometimes we forget what it is. Sometimes you have a disabled account or you've been locked out of your account. If you log in too many times with the wrong password, then you're going to be locked out. You're going to need to talk to somebody or use the wizard to figure that out. Once you log in, everybody's page here is going to look different. What you're looking for is in this red rectangle, which is the Performance Plus button or sort of place where you're going to click. If you do not have that, you need to just talk with your administrator because you should have access as long as you're a P+ subscriber. So this is our homepage for Performance Plus. Today, because we're going into the student system, we're going to be clicking on one of the specific buttons up there, but this is just the home screen here. This next page, I just wanted to show you, a lot of times, if you're like me, you put, you have your Performance Plus up in one of your tabs, and then you do other things or you walk away. You will come to this screen if you are timed out, or if you log out of the Performance Plus screen, it will bring you to this screen here. This is the actual Performance Plus login, and you will not be able to gain access to Performance Plus this way. So you'll have to go back onto your single sign-on page or that my.doe.newhampshire.gov. I've tried many times to use my user ID and password on this page, and it does not work that way. So, Anne, are there any additional questions that anybody has about logging in or any thoughts? Okay, we'll move on. I'm thinking that you'd tell me if there.
I'm muted. I'm sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Just one note about a person who gets very frustrated because every time they log on, they have to get a new one, which is true. So sorry about that.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about the student page here. So this is, again, the home page for Performance Plus. You can see all of the icons at the top here. The one that we're going to be looking at today for this P+ student page is this one right here. This is individual student information. So you're going to click right on that button, and it will bring you to this search screen. So any of this criteria can be entered here. I would say less is more, less is best. If you start entering too much criteria in here, first of all, you won't need a ton of the criteria, but usually just searching by a student's last name, because you are in a specific school or specific district, that would be enough to be able to add in. And then you're just going to click Show Students. This is what the whole student page looks like. It's too big for me to show on the full screen, but I wanted to kind of make it small and let you know that there's a lot of information on here. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into each section and break it down so that you can just understand each section. So the first section up at the top is the student detailer demographics. You can see that there's a student code here, their name, the organization is which district you're a part of, their grade currently, the school, all of their gender and race information that's been entered, birth date, and basically the last time it was modified or synced or things like that. This information comes from your student system. So depending on what you have for your student system, it's uploaded from there, and updates are made by your school and sent to the Department of Education's I4C team that then puts it into Performance Plus for you. So if there is an error in here, make sure that your student system is updated, and then you might need to tell your administrators to push any new information or corrections up. Not all schools do it frequently, so you'll just have to work with your team on that. So the next section is the assessment section. This shows assessments that are entered for this student. So depending on your school, this is going to vary, but state assessments are loaded automatically and they show in that highlighted yellow. So any of the New Hampshire SAS assessments will be uploaded automatically. The nationally normed assessments like STAR, NEWA, AIMSweb, you need to request that they be uploaded. Once you request, let's say you wanted AIMSweb to be uploaded, You put in the request form, which we'll push that information out to you tomorrow. It's going to be in the folder for you. You'll get an email with this PowerPoint and any of the handouts that I'm talking about and your certificate and everything tomorrow. But this, once you request for Ames Web or whatever nationally normed assessment, it will automatically start pushing into the system after that.
Heather, we have two questions.
Yeah.
What about iReady? And the other one is, what about Fountas and Pinnell?
So Fountas and Pinnell, I believe, and is that a local assessment that people would put in?
It would have to be local since you're scoring it yourself. Yep.
Yep. Yep. And then the iReady is, I believe that iReady is national.
Yep. That can be automatically loaded. Yep.
Yep. Yep. So you would just have to put in a request for that. And as soon as you did, it would start uploading into the system.
Thank you.
So thanks. And then local assessments are entered by your school. So you can do any like Fountas and Pinnell or any other local assessments for your school can be entered. Some schools, depending on your grade levels, you might have sort of mini math assessments or things like that that you'll put in here. And then you can click on any assessment on this list to view the specifics of it. I'm not going to get too far into it right now because we are going to go live into the system. So I'll show you a little bit more once we go live. The next one is the assessments section. So this is, I just want to show all the different ways that you can look at the assessments section. You can look at it by specific year. So depending on how many years your student has been in school, you can choose a specific year. Right now I have all listed. So the list shows the most current at the bottom. That's pretty much a common theme for Performance Plus. A lot of times the most current information is at the bottom. As we're looking at assessments, you can also sort by any column that you have here. This is just a snapshot, a quick screenshot of a student, but some students will have quite a large number of assessments put in there, depending on how much your school uses Performance Plus for assessments and tracking assessments. But you can sort by date, you can sort by assessment name, you can sort by section, which may a lot of times is the total score or things like that. You can sort by score, proficiency level. There are 4 proficiency levels. We'll see. There's the blue, which is the highest. Then there's green, there's yellow, and then red is the lowest. And then you can also sort by subject. So you can also choose any category of assessment to view. You can choose local, state, national, classroom. A lot of times the local and classroom tend to be similar. New Hampshire doesn't have any high stakes testing, so you will not necessarily see any high stakes tests in here, but other states do have high stakes. And you can also filter by subject. Depending on the subjects over here on the right, your drop-down will match the subjects for the specific assessments. And again, the assessments that are shown here are the assessments that are basically entered into the system by your school, or if you have any of those nationally normed assessments, they will be going in as well, as long as you've requested it. For the reports section, it shows the Performance Plus assessment reports for this student. So any assessments that you have in, any reports for those will show up in this reports section. Again, you can sort by any column. You can sort by year, report name, the grade, or the subject. And it again shows the most current at the bottom. You can also click on any report to view the specifics of that report. Ann and I were talking earlier, and as much as these reports are shown in this section, we tend to run our own reports, which there'll be another webinar on in this Performance Plus series that will show you how you can run reports and different levels of reports that you can. The classes section is next, and it shows the classes that the student has taken. So it will list every single class that they've been a part of. Now, again, it shows the most current at the bottom. And these rosters are populated from your student system. So depending on how your student system shows classes, that's how it's brought into Performance Plus. So you can see here for this student, they're in 4th grade. It's broken out into all the different classes that that student has for 4th grade. Sometimes it might just be a teacher's name or things like that. So it really depends on how it's in your student system. So for the student groups section, this shows the past and present groups for this student. So many of these groups are going to be loaded automatically, like you can see here where it has all students or promoted to a specific grade. You can also create your own groups. So you can create groups, whether it be that you're pulling kids for intervention or for any other purposes. And the groups can be used for reports. So if you create a group, you can then report off of just that group. For interventions, this shows interventions entered for this student. So you may be having tons of intervention for a specific student in your school, but if you're not entering them into Performance Plus, you won't obviously see them here. They don't upload automatically. So you want to make sure that if you really do want to track interventions within Performance Plus, that you're entering them. You can again sort by any column. So beginning date or end date, how much time is spent, the name of the intervention or the subject, who's doing it, teacher name. And then a lot of the interventions obviously have a goal or a baseline that you're going into, and then what the progress is for that. Again, most current on the bottom. And then you can click on any intervention again to see the specifics for that intervention or to add information to it. You can, again, you're adding your own interventions so that you can see them. And you and I had talked about, we were thinking that if there was an interventions in another system, that they weren't necessarily populating in here, correct?
That's true. If interventions, certainly if they're kept on paper, then you know, if people aren't keeping track, then they're not going to be in there. So the only way you see them is if they get entered in, if somebody enters them into the system.
Right. Great. Thank you. Next is the school and district history section. So this shows all the schools and district this child has been enrolled in. So you can see this particular child and all the years that they've gone through and which district or districts that they have been a part of. We'll talk about this in a little bit more detail as I get into the system live, because it can be really telling if you're looking at a student and trying to figure out intervention or sort of their learning profile. If they've been to a lot of different schools, then it's just really telling. So again, shows the most current at the bottom. Okay, so back up to the top of the page where we had the student demographics, I wanted to show the ILP page. This is the student ILP. Now, not every school is going to have this option. So there are some schools that have not purchased the student ILP portion, but if you have it, it's pretty easy to see. It's in the upper right-hand corner. So if you do have it, if you click in there, this shows all the information in the student's ILP. So you can see that it's got all of this really great information, and it can have some portfolio information and all the reporting and assessments and all of that for them. I will tell you, I'm not going to go too far into this today. There will be a specific webinar, a whole webinar that's going to be coming up in January on this specific topic. So if you are really interested in this, make sure to check back. I think it's in January, it might be February, but it's coming up in the next month or so. So it'll be its own webinar.
Heather, we have a question.
Yeah.
If my school doesn't have ILPs, how would I go about getting it?
I would say, do they just need to talk with their administrator? I think it's something that needs to be purchased. So I would think
Yeah.
that you got to go through some hoops to be able to get it. I don't think it's as easy as saying, can you just turn that on?
Yeah, and I think you have
So,
to, it's district too, not just school. So I don't,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would start with your particular building administrator and see if it's something that they might be interested in, because they probably will have the most pull with your district folks. Anything else, Ann?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so now we are going to go live into the PPLUS student page. So here we are. Okay, I'm just gonna close out of that for just a minute, and I'm going to open up. So this is my browser. It works on any browser you have. I currently have Chrome open right now, but it doesn't need to be. I have here, this is my, again, my.doe.newhampshire.gov, and it will bring in this single sign on user page. And all I'm going to do, I have my username and my password, and I'm going to log in. Now, again, this screen will be different depending on what sort of access you have to the system. Because I have system administrator access, I have a few other buttons than you might have. You're looking specifically for this Performance Plus right here. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to go into the Performance Plus training system. This system will allow me to show you student information and not necessarily be showing you live student information. So this is information from a little while back, but it will show you all the parts of the system that you need to see anyway. So I'm going to go in here. Again, here's my home page. I have my 3 students here, so I'm going to click on students. And right here, I am going to pick, I know where I want to find my students, so I'm going to pick 7th grade. And right now I'm just going to say show students, because I know which student I need here. You could put
Somebody
in a
is asking if you could make them bigger. So
okay.
plus, yeah.
Great. So is that better?
That looks good to me.
Okay, so I'm going to go into here. And again, this is my student, right? Jacob Abbey. He, you can see all of his demographics here. Depending on your system, you would see a photo or not. Here you can see their grade level, the school, which district they're in, things like that. So this is just all their general demographic information. Then we're moving down to the assessments tab. So right now you can see that I have it highlighted on all. So you will see all the assessments for the student. And again, I would have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to see the most current. Okay. If I wanted to sort of drill down and see a little bit less information here, I could say, okay, I only want to see my state information here. So this is all my New Hampshire SAS testing for this particular student. I could go in and I could drill into any single one of these. So if I wanted to see how they did, you can see the specifics of what level they were and their general scores on each portion of that specific assessment.
I just want to comment on something. This system, since this is the test system, all these kids are fake. It doesn't get updated very often. So it only has kneecap. It doesn't have anything past that. So sorry.
Right.
They all work the same.
Right. And so now I'm back and I have all the assessments. You can sort by the name of the assessment, you know, in ascending or descending order. You can sort by date. So if you didn't want to have to scroll all the way down to see the most current, again, look, 2014, it's not the most current, but you get the idea. Any of your assessments would be in here. And you could also click on a specific year and you would just see the assessments for that particular year. So You would actually, it's interesting, you only see everything for that particular year too. So any of the sections are just shown for that particular year. I'm going to choose all still. So as we're moving down, any questions yet, Anne, about the assessments? Again, these are ones that have been entered into the system.
No questions, no.
Okay, great. So as we're scrolling down, you can
Oh,
see.
wait, sorry, one came up.
Okay.
How do we get local assessments in there?
So the local assessments, you are going to be, I believe, Anne, maybe you can speak better to this. Is it that they enter them, you just go in and you say add assessment? Does your administrator need to do something?
Somebody in your school, what, am I still on mute? No, somebody in your school will need to create, or you can, we can do it if it's not too complicated, but we can show you how to do it, certainly. Somebody needs to create a framework to put the data in, and then somebody has to enter the data in.
Right. Yeah, specifically for local assessments, the data needs to be entered, and traditionally, you would maybe have one person, like an administrator or somebody that, or is your like overall person that puts the assessments in, but then individual, depending on your school, individual teachers would need to enter in their own data. Or if you have somebody that's like a curriculum coordinator, they might do something like that. But for the most part, I know when I used Performance Plus, I didn't enter my own local assessments in. Somebody at my school did that, but then I was required to enter my data in for my students. Okay. So as we're looking at reports, again, these reports are the ones that are generated in Performance Plus. So you could look at any of the reports here that they have. Like if I wanted to go to the proficiency bar chart for this student, you can see how they did on this particular mathematics in 9th grade.
I think it's actually, it won't be one assessment. It's every single assessment that was set up so that it had standards.
That's what I thought, because that's why I was saying for 9th grade, it's not necessarily just, one of our state assessments or things like that, but anything that had these standards attached to it is what I understand. Yeah. And again, we don't necessarily use this section as much. If we are looking for specific data, we tend to run specific reports, which will be another webinar that we will have coming up. Okay, so those are reports. These again are the classes that a student has been in. So if you're a teacher and you wanted to look back and say, who was our teacher last year? Or sort of what the progression of the student going through the grades, this is the best way to see that. And remember always thinking, double checking who had this student last year, and you can go right in here quickly and see that. Obviously, as the kids get up into different grade levels, they're going to have probably more teachers in the junior high and high school level. This is the student groups area. So this is any of the student groups. A lot of these, again, are uploaded automatically into the system. Like you have here, all students, nobody has added that specifically in. So it's uploaded from your student system a lot of times, but you can also, again, create groups for yourself to be able to do reporting on, or to be able to do specific interventions on, things like that. A lot of these groupings as well, just so that you can understand it, are put in at the end of a school year, like the absences or number of days, or any of the information about attendance is going to be done, not necessarily, it might be done periodically for your school, but depending, it might just be done maybe at the end of a semester or end of a quarter or a term. So it's not necessarily what their attendance is that particular day. Interventions here, this particular student, because we're in the test system, does not have interventions, but you can always go in and add interventions, and those are any of those the times where you're working with the student, probably in a small group or on specific skills. And that's where you would track that particular information. Any notes? You could add notes for a student if you have something that you wanted to add that you would want to make sure followed them through the grades. And then this is where I was talking about the school building history and district history. This particular student has been in the same district the whole time, and you can see that they probably went right through that particular school district from elementary all the way up to middle school, which is where they were at this point. But this is where it becomes telling where a student has been or how many schools they might have gone to. A lot of times people use this student information page or the student page here to be able to really work with kids who need a lot of intervention or might be on a special ed or on an IEP or working with Title I or extra math or reading support. So this information becomes useful for those teachers who need to kind of figure out the whole sort of understanding of the child, and maybe if they haven't been in that school for a while, to see where they have been. So that's what I have here. Are there any other questions, Anne?
There are not. That was great.
Okay. All right. So this is where we sort of had a wrap up in questions. This particular webinar it's about the student page. It's not a super long webinar. It's pretty quick because the student page doesn't have a lot of information in it. And then, Anne, is there another Performance Plus webinar also coming up that's going to show how to put interventions in and things like that? Is
that'll be part of the ILP one.
That's what I figured.
They kind of go hand in hand, yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. So if there aren't any more questions, then I will move on to, there is, when you're a Performance Plus member, on our Demonstrated Success website, we have a member login that will give you lots of useful information that you can use for Performance Plus. So it's free to be a member of our website. You've already paid for your Performance Plus subscription. So all you need to do is on demonstratedsuccess.com, this is our homepage, you would click member login and it would bring you to this page. There's a couple of different things that you can do on this page. You might already be a member, so you're just going to enter in your email and password and then click login. If you aren't already a member of our Performance Plus portion of our website, you can register as a new user. And there I have a whole page in the folder that you'll be gaining access to that will give you information and directions on how to go about becoming a new user. This little question mark right here also, I believe, houses the information on how to register as a new user in case you need to do that. But if you need anything or not sure how to do this, you can contact Anne or I. Our information, you can contact either one of us. It will be at the end of this particular presentation. So once you're in, it will bring you to this educator success platform. You'll have some boxes and things that, like that on the bottom. Once you click on this resources and discussion, it will bring you to this page as well. So this is all the information on our Performance Plus resources. So I just wanted to show you, I was going to go here. And I just want to show you how to get in there from our website. I thought I had it open, but. So if you go here and I'm going Performance Plus, no, sorry, member login. This is what I was talking about where you might have some boxes on the bottom. I took the screenshot because it depends on how many different areas you're a member of. So if I go to resources and discussion, this is all of the Performance Plus information. So there's a lot of just really good information. Way down at the bottom here, it's the overview of Performance Plus. There's some past webinars that we have in here, but by all means, take a peek at what's coming up for Performance Plus because we have a lot of great information that's going to be the most current and helpful for you. So if you would like to see any of our upcoming webinars, right on that same page, if you hit workshops and webinars, it will bring a drop-down list here and you can choose Performance Plus subscribers. And these are the next ones that are going to be coming up. So we have creating assessment frameworks, reporting level 1, and uploading your student data. Those will be coming up in January and February. And the ILP one must be coming up a little bit after that. So keep an eye out for that. And then we have another webinar coming up that you don't have to be a Performance Plus subscriber to be a part of. And that's the SAT data to inform instruction. So that's coming up January 19th. In addition to what we have coming up, we also have a lot of information and webinars that have been recorded in the past. So make sure to take a peek at these. We have all of them listed that we have done since July, and then we have some even from the spring that we have up on our website. If you can't find them on our website, you can go to our YouTube channel. We've been trying to get people in the direction of this. If you just go to YouTube and type in demonstrated success, our homepage will come up. These are the first two playlists on our homepage. The first one is recent and the next one is PLC, the professional learning community ones, but there are hundreds of webinars, I feel like, on this website. So you can just start taking a peek and view them whenever you get the chance. Also, social media. We've been working really hard on our social media. So follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook or find us on LinkedIn or follow us on Instagram. We've got a really vast sort of array of information on each one of those. Some of them are interesting articles. Other ones are just sort of fun tidbits of information. So make sure to check us out on social media. And then this is my direct email and Anne's direct email. So you can email us if you have any questions about this webinar, or you can go to our general mailbox at info@demonstratedsuccess.com. And a reminder that we will send you an email with a link to this PowerPoint, a link to the video from today. Any of those handouts that we were talking about with becoming a member on our Demonstrated Success website, or so that you can view all of those documents, the how to get different nationally normed assessments to show up in Performance Plus, and just some other general information that we have in there along with your professional development certificate. And is there anything else that anybody has or that you have that you would like to add?
No, I don't have anything, and there are no more questions. So thank you all for joining us. And please feel free definitely to write to us and ask us questions, and look for the email tomorrow with all the documents in it. Thank you.